Well, tonight we will head to Washington, where today President Obama announced that he's energized. We'll try and figure out what that means. President claiming his administration's success at the end of 2014, citing a lower unemployment rate and rising number of Americans covered by Obamacare. Are the victories that he's claiming going to last, or is this only a matter of time before the Republican-controlled House and Senate, they take control? And a new series of polls, they're out when it comes to Mayor Bill de Blasio, and they're not doing the new mayor any favors. We're going to tell you what New Yorkers think of de Blasio when it comes to police-community relations and the racial divide in his city when it comes to his overall performance. Plus, tonight, Westchester County legislator Catherine Borges, she joins our panel to discuss politics in the Hudson Valley. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. And we're going to start in our nation's capital, where the president held his annual final press conference of the year before heading out to Hawaii on a family vacation. Lucky him. The president says that he, for one, is energized.
Hello, everybody.
Wrapping up 2014, President Obama said there were crises here and abroad, and there's still work to do on the U.S. economy, but
America's making significant strides where it counts.
With Republicans controlling the House and Senate in January, the president seemed to have his political New Year's resolution ready.
I want to work with this new Congress to get things done.
President Obama, he was asked right away about North Korea's hacking of Sony Pictures. He said he thinks Sony made a mistake pulling its film The Interview after threats from cyber hackers.
I wish they'd spoken to me first. I would have told them, do not get into a pattern in which you're intimidated by these kinds of criminal attacks.
This week, President Obama announced a historic shift in U.S.-Cuba relations, reopening an embassy and reestablishing diplomatic ties that were severed in 1961 and easing some economic sanctions. But critics, including many Cuban-American lawmakers, slammed the administration for awarding the Castro regime without getting any concessions.
If you've done the same thing for 50 years and nothing's changed, you should try something different.
And as for firing up Air Force One for a trip to Havana,
we're not at a stage here where me visiting Cuba is in the cards.
Well, a little bit of history made today. The press conference where the president answered 8 questions. They came from, obviously, 8 reporters, all of which were women. All right, let's bring in our panel right now and try and take a little look ahead as to where this is going to go next year. Bill O'Reilly, Republican strategist. He served as Rob Astorino's spokesman in his 2 successful runs for Westchester County exec. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Mike Morey, senior vice president of public relations at SKD Knickerbocker. Oh, easy for me to say. Before that, he was the spokesman for the Christine Quinn mayoral campaign and was a communications director to Senator Chuck Schumer. As they say, the most dangerous place in D.C. between Schumer and a camera. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent, joins us as well. Okay, I'll start with you, Mike. The president said he was energized. You know, I was talking before to Dominic. The president we saw of December, a lot different than the president we saw for the first 11 months. Is it your sense that, hey, this sounds good now, but it's a new world come January when you got a Republican Senate as well as a Republican House that they had before with even bigger margins? Executive orders can only go so far. Do you think this is a president with nothing to lose, or do you think this is a president that's saying, you know what, another year and a half I can go to my Hawaii as often as I want?
Yeah, so first I think he is energized, and you have to look at some of what's been accomplished in the course of the year. Despite a lot of the narrative about sort of a president whose approval ratings are low and who hasn't been doing so well, I mean, you've got unemployment now at 5.8%. You've got national gas prices at the average is $2.50 a gallon now. I mean, these are metrics that previous contenders for the presidency said they would get accomplished, and that would be success. So he's got those successes. He's broken through 50-plus years of somewhat ridiculous foreign policy when it relates to Cuba. So I think he is energized. I think also going into next year, what you're going to see is that now that there's a very clear distinction between the White House and the Congress will be completely controlled by Republicans. It gives him the opportunity to really make the case that, hey, you know, these are the guys who are opposing me, and so I'm willing to work with them.
I hear you, but everything you say, 100% factually right, except he could have said the same thing last year, and Democrats got to hand it to him in November, and They ran away from the president. His own party did as best as they could. and we see the margins now that Republicans got in both the Senate and the House. Why should anyone listen?
Well, look, so I don't disagree with you. I think that there were some mistakes made in this campaign, particularly in states throughout the country that tried to run directly from the president and didn't sort of deal with some of the successes. The numbers we're seeing now on unemployment, the numbers we're seeing in gas, those things were all trending in the right direction in the months leading up to the election, but folks were afraid to sort of identify with the president. They thought his numbers were bad, and so they ran away from him. Really sort of hurt the base. Base didn't turn out, and we saw the results. I think, though, the difference now is that the public knows clearly that the Republicans control the Congress, both houses of Congress now. And what they're going to see is these clashes are going to happen. They're going to be, the lines will be much clearer now, simply because you have a unified Congress on the GOP side, and you'll have a president. And at the end of the day, you know, the public, as much as they may disapprove of the president, they always disapprove of the Congress that much less.
Okay. Andrew, is your gut say that the president we're going to get for the next 2 years, certainly next year, is the president who took executive action on Cuba, who took executive action on immigration, or is it that the guy who signed a budget here that had Pelosi and others saying, you know, I don't know why the White House capitulates like they do. This is something they were ashamed of.
I think you're going to get a little of both. I think you'll get where he can make deals with Republicans and where he can get enough concessions from Republicans to make issues that Republicans favor more palatable to him and to Democrats. He'll certainly work across the aisle and he'll cut deals. I think on the other things, the things that he's empowered to do by executive order, he's certainly going to go that route as well. But I think he's, I hate to use a Sarah Palinism, but I think he's going a little rogue, which is he's going back to the things that he wants to do. He's already in legacy mode, and the last 2 years of his administration will help mold his legacy. In addition to the things that he's already done, he doesn't have another election that he has to stand for, or that he's the head of the party when they come up for a vote. So it'll be fascinating to see what he does on things like criminal sentencing disparities and drug sentencing. Will he start commuting and pardoning? What about marijuana legalization? Other issues where, especially on the progressive left, there are a lot of people who want to see greater steps taken than have been taken by this administration in the last 6 years.
Can you see Alaska from your window or no?
I'm sorry?
Can you see Alaska from your backyard?
No, neither can the
Cuba,
president.
maybe Cuba.
You know, Dom,
I'm still stunned.
Is it reading too much in that he did seem that, you know what, for 6 years he's been trying to live up to what people expected of him, and that he finally says, you know, forget this. I'm not running for any more races. I'm sick of kissing up to both my party, who doesn't seem to think I'm left enough, the right, who doesn't think I'm strong
that
enough.
Part out. His own party
Does he
as
feel
well.
liberated, or is he
No
just
doubt
running
about
out the
it.
clock?
No. Earlier in the year, I thought that things were so pathetic for this president that he was indeed just running out the clock. He had threw in the towel and he was done with Washington. But I think after the thumping, or a little rogue, quoting you and Sarah Palin, I think this president has said, you know what, I listened to my own party and look at what happened. I'm doing this my way, on my terms, and the Barack Obama that we're seeing now is the Barack Obama that people voted for in those large numbers in terms of change. And so we are looking at a Congress where clearly they have the House and the Senate, the Republicans, but he is going, I think he's saying, I'm going to make you say no.
Okay, to that point though, Bill, it all sounds good, but let's look. Republicans on Cuba, they don't have to go along with the whole thing. You know, they can definitely put a kibosh on it if they want parts of it. Immigration sounds good, but they could definitely have their own stamp on it. If they want to screw with them on the American Affordable Care Act or whatever, they can also make it a principal issue that they're going to go to try and find out to defund certain things. So the president can do certain things, but are Republicans more concerned about finally getting the White House next year and accomplishing some stuff in the meantime? Or are they going to put roadblock after roadblock on stuff like this, confirmations, run up and down the issues with me next year and the year after?
I think with this leadership, they're looking for the White House. I think the latter on that one. I'm not sure I want to see President Obama energized. You know, I mean, I'm a little bit torn because the president was looking so weak. I agree with you, Dom. He was looking so weak a month ago that it was actually concerning. He looked weak before the entire planet, and you can't have that in an American president. But I think now what you see is that this president's got game. he does have game. He's back in there.
I
His
like
mojo's
that.
in there.
I
he
like
does.
that.
You know what I mean? He's
A little rogue and got
he's
game.
got game. He got off the bench and he's ready to go again. You know, I don't agree with him and everything. I think Andrew's right on the legacy point. He's a little bit alarmed that his legacy is only Obamacare, which I think is a net negative. He'll see it as a plus, obviously. But he's trying to paint a legacy. He doesn't want to go out a loser.
Republicans got to be careful. They got to really thread the needle. They don't want to just go along to get along because it's going to anger the base here with the president. But if they're seen as obstructionary on issues like immigration, et cetera, without a plausible alternative, not just one they'll throw out there, it's going to hurt them in 16 with a Latino base. So,
But Rich, there's only 20 or 25 or 30 Republicans who are running for president. All the other Republicans who are in Washington are worried about Congress and their job security in Congress. So they're worried about getting reelected to the House or getting
But you
reelected
know
to
the
the Senate.
history, Andrew, and how the cycle. But wait a minute, you know
their
how the
agenda is
cycles
far
work.
different from those who are running for
I'm
president.
with you, but you also you know as well as I do that in the second year of the second term of a president, historically, that party in power gets it handed to him. But 2 years later, all bets are off. I mean, very conceivably, the map favors Democrats in 16 as it relates to Senate races. It's conceivable things change very quickly in 2 years.
I'm just saying there's no overarching head of the GOP
Yeah.
who's going to be able to manipulate both the presidential candidates and the members of Congress.
And the Senate will be, I mean, the Senate is not going to be cohesive on the Republican side. Think about the two sort of loudest voice in the United States Senate and the GOP. It will be Rand Paul and Ted Cruz. Rand Paul, who's sort of making some very, I think, interesting outreaches, particularly to the youth in this country with the libertarian ban, the anti-police stuff.
He came out for Cuba.
Yeah, came out for Cuba. You've got Ted Cruz, on the other hand, who is sort of like throw the red meat and throw as much of it as possible. And those two alone in that chamber are going to make it very difficult for Mitch McConnell.
All right, when we come back here, it got some really interesting poll numbers. Going to go around the table and have these guys explain what it means to me here. We're going to go to New York City and New York State. New numbers out here on the guy on your screen, the mayor, how he's handling stuff, including the police and race relations. Stay with us.